Welcome to a community built of tomorrow's business leaders. Hey guys, I'm William Freitas, and this is the Socius Podcast. Socius, welcome back to another episode. Today we've got Seb Valladares. Seb, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Some people might know you as the 9to5ver, and so we're going to dive into various different aspects, building personal brand, what it's like to be an influencer, or what that term might be, your business journey and how you got to where you are today. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But I guess first and foremost, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you got to where you are today.
Thanks, Will. So basically my sort of background is I was born in Chile, in Santiago. Spanish, obviously, is my first language. And long story short, moved to New Zealand with my family, just 5 of us, to New Zealand. And the reason for it was because Mum was a flight attendant. She wasn't really seeing us, and I have 2 younger siblings, and she kind of wanted to be part of the upbringing. Dad was a lawyer. That's my stepdad. He was a lawyer back in Chile, and he was just blasted with work, and they really just wanted us to be nurtured. And Mum, because she had flown all over the world, she kind of found New Zealand as like this little sort of country that could potentially just give us a better life as kids growing up. So basically made the move when I was about 8 with the family, and just really didn't know anyone. Kind of just took a stab in the dark and tried to make it work. And it was honestly quite hard coming as an immigrant labelled kid, and got bullied as such. Back in the day, I didn't have these sort of straight white teeth. I had buck teeth and barely spoke any sort of English. And then just got into a real good Catholic school and basically just learned through English, and I was able to get through sporting such as rugby, because obviously New Zealand is such a big rugby country.
So before you kick into the next gear on that, why New Zealand? So your mum said it was just a small little country that appealed to her for some reason. You knew nobody in New Zealand? There was no family or anything there?
No family. I think the 2 options were either Australia or New Zealand, but Mum and Dad thought because New Zealand was like such a small country, they'd be able to, navigate it as such. And the reason for basically moving out of Chile, because it's such a big country, and I think they kind of saw Australia as being sort of the same sort of spectacle. So basically they moved to Auckland, and I think it was really hard just to try and understand the sort of culture. Obviously it was a culture clash for us, but they just made it work with as much. They didn't really have much, and they somehow made it work for us to be able to provide for us and kind of understand this sort of new culture. And we just kind of dived straight into it. And I think one of their biggest learnings for us was that still keep that Chilean sort of culture, but at the same time integrate within what the Kiwi sort of lifestyle is, what they do, sort of thing. Because I think Chile was just a bit too big city life, and I think kind of getting lost in that sort of transition, you start not being able to like enjoy sort of life outside of the 9-to-5 corporate world, which Mum and Dad were at the end of the day.
And did they speak any English when they moved to New Zealand?
So Dad lived in America when he was younger, so it's quite funny. He's got an American accent. So he lived in California for about 10 or 15 years, and then moved back to Chile to finish his law studies, and then met Mum. Mum had to basically, didn't really know much English, and she did one of those IELTS tests in New Zealand and slowly progressed on trying to actually learn from it. She still got the Chilean accent, so I'd basically describe her as that Gloria from Modern Family. So she's basically still got the Spanish accent, but her English is pretty good.
Yeah, and look, I find these stories motivating and inspirational myself personally. My background is very much that as well. Immigrant family who did not speak a word of English, came to Australia and made something from that. So awesome to hear. Take us through the rest of it. You joined a Catholic school and you went into rugby, I presume?
Yeah, so I've always loved rugby. Even I played rugby back in Chile, which is quite funny, not the traditional soccer that you'd play. I think it's just because it was almost like an outlet for me to just express myself in the field. And in a way where I could just dive into someone and tackle someone, and obviously the team camaraderie that you'd actually gain from playing a sport like rugby. So
then from there, how did that develop? Did you progress in rugby? Was that something you wanted to do moving forward? How did you stumble across what you now do?
yeah, well, obviously growing up in New Zealand, every kid's dream is to become an All Black, and that was my dream for so long. But my height and sort of going against these Polynesian boys, and it was quite hard. Just they were probably 2-3 heads taller than me, but I'd still give it a good nudge and still go out there and just try my best. And which kind of fell back to, I had about 4 or 5 concussions and 3 head knocks throughout my rugby career. So it got to probably, I think it was year 13, I kind of had to make that decision. I was good in academics. I wasn't the best, but I kind of decided to take a step back and not really focus on the dream of being a professional sort of athlete within sort of the rugby industry, but focus on what I was learning throughout and trying to understand what I really wanted to do with my sort of profession.
Was that hard to do? Because I imagine in New Zealand, like you said, everyone wants to play rugby, and from what I understand, if you're not playing rugby, you're kind of a nobody really in New Zealand. Was that hard to do, or was it an easy decision?
It was hard to do in a way, like you say, as everyone wants to do that. Everyone looks up to them. They're sort of idols, and first 15, they'd be like, oh my God, he's a first 15 rugby player. Like he is the end all be all sort of thing. But I just kind of took the step back and realised like it's such a big pool that at the same time it's only about, realistically, if you do make it into the professional sort of sporting era, it's only going to be around roughly 5 to 10 years, if that, if you are good enough. And then afterwards you're kind of backtracking and then trying to reevaluate what you actually really want to do. So I sort of saw it as a way of, if I gain all the other expertise and the other things that I really like enjoying, then I'm kind of accelerating my process through what I want to do now as a lawyer.
So you then went into studying at university, I presume?
Yeah, so I straight after school I stayed in Auckland, studied at Auckland University of Technology, so one of the universities there, and started studying law. And at the same time, it was almost a stab in the dark. Like I said, I wasn't the best academically, but I thought I really worked hard, and I think with law is you really need to sit down, buckle down, and regardless whether it's going to take 5 hours to problem solve, I knew that I was going to be willing to do that, and I think that's why I kind of chose that sort of career path.
Yeah, and was it inspired by your dad as well? To some degree?
To some degree, it was. Also, the fact that I've never been good at maths. I still don't know my times, but I enjoyed writing. So a lot of my subjects at school, I really liked sitting down and just writing kind of stories, or being able to articulate in a way where I kind of understand something and then I'm able to interpret that through sort of writing, which is basically what law is. So I think it was almost like trial and error, and see, all right, never really liked maths. Yeah. Numbers don't really do anything with me. Science, I've got no idea.
Where you are today, like personal brand, how did that come about?
So I started social media probably July 2024. The reason why I started it was I've been in the sort of corporate world for the last 3 or 4 years, and there's a lot of influencers out there, and I feel like the social media kind of space industry has massively grown in the last 2 or 3 years, where people start seeing all these fitness influencers, all very good, like good looking, well shaped, and they can run like really far, can be in the gym, and comments on influencers and saying, oh, this is their full-time job, obviously they can do that. And when I saw that, I was like, that's not right. I think it's you using as an excuse that you work a normal day-to-day job, isn't the fact that you can't get to where these sort of influencers are. So I started posting content around the fact that I'm a working professional and I'm still able to have these things that I love doing outside of work. And it was quite funny because I I started posting. I feel it was the first 2 months where I was just consistent and posted every day, showing of my day in the life and getting in the 3 workouts that I can get in throughout the day, that people started gravitating towards me. And I think one of the video that actually blew me up, that got me around 10 to 15,000 followers, was me basically having a day in the life, and worked out in the morning, and then had a court case, and then at the end of the day was able to just still work out, and still had the energy to do it. So it's almost the reason why I started this sort of personal brand, was to inspire others to be able to do it, and to be able to do the things that they, not necessarily fitness related, but things that they love outside of their own working day.
And a lot of this has been organic, right? Like, you've had no social media background in the past, and
No, not at all. I do have a couple of friends that they started probably 6 months prior, and they gave me tips here and there of like, how to edit a video. But it was all just kind of winging it and kind of just going through the process and trying to see what works, what doesn't work. And I'm still, to this day, it's one of those things where I'm still trying to learn of what actually works, what doesn't work for me, which kind of gives me the drive to keep improving around it as well. So I haven't really lost the fun of it, which is good, because it doesn't feel like it's a tasking heavy demanded job, because I'm like enjoying the process of being able to create something that I kind of thought about and kind of to show the world. So I'm fortunate enough with work that somehow it landed that there's a gym literally a 2-minute walk from the office. But essentially for me, one of my principles and one of my values is the fact that I need to move in the morning before I get into work. So regardless whether that's going for a run, going for a walk, or at least just moving, because then that kind of breaks up my sort of morning, and I'm not diving straight into work, straight into the office, and thinking about what do I need to do today for my working day. So work out in the morning, at lunchtime if I've got enough time, which sometimes I don't, I'm able to fit in a 45-minute workout, in and out, come out. And not so much during winter, but in summer I'd still come home and I'm like, the sun's still out, may as well go and move the body. Whether, like I said, whether it be going for a walk, going for a run, or just sort of weight training. It's been, which is so interesting, because I've always had this sort of time management and scheduling for the last 8 to 10 years. It's only now showing through the personal brand on social media that I'm showing it. So people are like, how do you do it? Like, how are you able to do this? And I'm like, I've been doing this for so long. It's just me now showcasing to the sort of world and the audience that that's my lifestyle.
And tell us a little bit about your following, I guess, because naturally we spoke about you being in New Zealand, but you've now obviously come over to Australia. We didn't really dive into that all that deeply. You know, what was the reasoning for moving to Australia, and are a lot of your followers from back home in New Zealand, or are they kind of around the world? Yeah,
so the reason why I moved to Australia is because obviously I did high school in Auckland, did university in Auckland, and did the bar in Auckland. So I was just kind of Auckland out. I was like, all right, I think I would have been 22, 23, and I was like, okay, I always wanted to do the classic Europe, so I travelled to Europe straight after finishing the bar, did about 3 months of some solo travelling, some sort of just catching up with friends throughout Europe. And my initial plan was to go from Europe straight to Australia. I went back home. I actually, instead of actually going into some sort of profession around law, because of obviously that's the degree that I had, I knew if I did get into that, then I'd be stuck in Auckland. So I actually worked at a landscaping business for about 3 months just to make quick cash, and then make the move over. I think it was January 2023.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And so and talking to the following that you have now, what's the sort of percentage across New Zealand, Australia?
So it's majority of the audience is actually Australia and New Zealand, but there's also the UK, quite a bit in the UK, and also in America. But there's probably majority would be Australia based. Yeah.
And where are you taking that now? Like, obviously, a lot of people that have influence or have a following, they try and capitalize on that.
Basically, my why as to why I started social media is because I wanted to inspire other people. The following grew and the engagement grew. I was like, right, okay, I need to sit down, how I can actually gain from this, because at the end of the day, yes, you're inspiring people, but then you can sort of create some sort of idea that you really believe in. So at first, I started selling one-on-one programs with my friend Okan, so we kind of came into a partnership together. He had this personal training background and I had the time management sort of thing of how you can work around work and be able to still go to the gym and do these sort of short snip exercises. So I went into a partnership with him and we started selling programs, which was really cool. But then the more and more I got into it, I was like, this is not really what I'm going to be doing. Like, yes, it could be a good side thing and it's still going, but at the same time, I want to create something that I really enjoy. And I'm in the process right now of sort of creating this like 9to5 to allow other people working in the profession that they do and still be able to do the things that they want to be doing outside of it. So I'm in the process of creating that sort of community-based online forum, because in this day and age everything's online these days, and I think a lot of people, from the discussions I have with my followers day in day out, is they kind of feel left out. They don't really have some sort of group that they can see through my own personal brand, and they want to be part of something. And I think that's just the way individuals and us humans work. They want to be part of something, and I think that's why brands they have now pivoted into a point of creating more than just a brand, creating some sort of community. So that's where I'm at with my sort of personal branding.
And you definitely want to add value to that community naturally, and it makes sense to capitalize. I mean, a following isn't just a number, right? It is a community of people that are following you and engaging with you. To what degree do you think the following or I presume it's coaching specific, right? And that's the community that you're going to be building. To what degree do you think that coaching part of the business or your life might overtake some of the legal space?
See, for me, I've thought about that question, because to myself, I'm like, if it gets so big, how can I still manage my sort of 9to5 job? But for me, having that 9to5 job gives me the structure that I need to do the things that I want to do outside of it. And it's just basically at the end of the day, just time managing and being able to just gravitate towards, okay, I'll put all my energy in this sort of field at this point in time, and then be able to put it somewhere else, for in fact would be the community. But if I feel the way that I operate and the way that I kind of go day by day, if I do sort of leave my sort of 9to5, I'll lose the structure that I've got with my sort of personal branding. And I think it will kind of just flop, because I don't have that. All right, I know that I need to be at work 9to5, but then being able to fill in the slots outside of it to do the things such as just working out or being able to create this community, it allows me, that my role as a lawyer allows me to be able to pinpoint and do that, because I don't think I'd be able to consistently put all my time and effort on that, because I need some sort of structure in my life.
And it speaks to your whole brand in general, right? Yeah. Like being a 9to5er, giving up the 9to5 probably wouldn't make sense with that personal brand per se.
No.
Which is a refreshing take on it, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who try and build a following and build some influence to quit, right?
I did put something out there, I think last week, is the fact that like it's been put out on social media, you need to quit this 9to5. And I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to find some sort of work that you enjoy, gives you structure, and then that will give you some sort of leverage to actually be able to enjoy things outside of your 9to5, you know?
And talk me through, because you raised a really good point that, what you really liked about rugby was like kind of going to war in a team, being in a collective, going together. That's very different to building a personal brand, right? So how do you manage that? Because a personal brand can be quite individualistic. It may or may not. So how do you manage those two?
See, the way that I look at it as I'm building this 9to5ver brand. So the 9to5ver brand is bigger than me, Seb Serrano. And what I'm trying to create is this sort of community that obviously relates to being a 9to5ver. It's not just the Seb Serrano. It could be the guy that walking across the road that works in finance. He's also a 9to5ver. So creating that sort of umbrella, and I'm just only the pivotal point that allows that brand to actually be created. Because at the end of the day, majority of the population is a 9to5ver.
Yeah, right. So I like that. It's really just a voice for a brand, and a brand that people can buy into. So it is a collective thing in general. And from what I understand, a lot of your close network of friends are call them 9to5ers, but they're a community of people that you work with quite closely to facilitate your structure around you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And with that as well, it's like, if you look at it in the way of LinkedIn, it's people have their own sort of expertise, and their own sort of 9to5 role allows them to have those tools and knowledges, and then they can actually help themselves. It's not just me that can help them. There could be someone that is a builder. Maybe he's not a 9to5er, but then he could get some sort of advice from someone that's within the finance sort of community, and then they can also gain sort of knowledge from one another. So it's not just me that's actually adding value towards that community. It's other people jumping off each other and giving each other sort of knowledge at the end of the day.
And I appreciate the collaborative nature of it. It's fantastic. I'll ask you an interesting question, and I'm sure you get this from some of the people within the following. Some of them are advocates and some of them love you, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to get some hate.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
I'm sure you get some hate online. How do you handle that?
Look, it's quite funny. When I look at, I don't know, sometimes someone would make like a mock reel of what I've said online before, or someone sends me a DM, says like, oh, you're a tosser. And the way I look at it, I don't really take those things to heart. It's more of appreciating the fact that you're just obviously going to rub someone the wrong way because of what you say. But at the end of the day, no one's really going to be hating from the top. So no one's actually, anyone that's doing a lot better than you isn't going to be tarnishing what you're actually doing. So I look at those people and I just kind of like brush it off. And it also gives me some sort of motivation to just keep doing what I'm doing, because I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel it doesn't really affect me, and it's never really affected me. So I don't know, I've got especially in my sort of profession, you got to have tough skin, and I've always had that since such a young age, especially just moving from Chile to New Zealand and trying to build my own sort of life, and it stems back from me being a little kid, because I always got told, no, you can't do this because of X, Y, Z. And for me, it's always being able to just prove them that I can. For instance, my school, not school counsellor, what would they say?
Career advisor?
Yeah, career advisors. Yeah, that one. Basically said, "Oh, your grades aren't good enough to do law." And for me, sort of hate like that gives me fuel to prove them wrong. And so when I see hate online from someone, I'm like, oh, come on, I'm actually doing something right, for someone to come give me some sort of hate. So
it's perfect. And I like to ask that question because I'm not too sure that every influencer or everyone that builds a following is ready for that hate. Once you build a following, there are going to be people who don't see the same perspective of you. And I think there are some people who might think, training 3 times a week is toxic, from their perspective. And, whether they're keyboard warriors at home sharing their perspectives or whatever it might be, it's super valuable to keep in mind from a mental health standpoint. You've really got to be on top of that. And I'm not sure every influencer, if you would say, is ready for that, let's say. So it's good to see that you're in the right mindset for it.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but at the same time, you get tons more of people that would send you a DM and say, hey, like, you're inspiring, I love your content, like, you've made me go for a run. Seeing that 10 times a day is far superior than seeing that one sort of toss a sort of DM hatred comment. You're like, oh, brush it off. I know that I've got more individuals that I'm inspiring than that just one person that's just hating.
Yeah, nice. And what would you say your number one factor for success is?
Just trying things, and just trying things where there's no real good or bad outcome through the process of you doing anything. At the end of the day, it's going to be some sort of outcome that you'll learn from it, and that's how you're going to be successful. Looking in a way that you just don't really need to overthink about what success actually looks like. It's just being able to try it, and whatever outcome comes out of it, it's still going to be a good outcome.
Nice. And I think it seems like you're very committed to building that community, which is fantastic as well. Obviously a lot of the listeners one are business owners or professionals looking to start their own businesses, or professionals in their 9-to-5s looking to one day have a vision to create that.
I feel there's a lot of businesses at the moment that are still in that kind of old age sort of marketing. In a way would be an example, is they don't understand that individuals obviously carry their phones 24/7. People's screen times are basically a full day's work on their phone, and I think a lot of businesses these days need to realise that for you to actually get your business out there, it can be done through social media. And I think old businesses especially don't really understand it, because they're not like my sort of generation where everything's online. I know, not me personally, but I know people are now, especially with like ChatGPT, are basically going for that sort of getting questions out of there, or even there's these kids out there asking the internet. Instead of asking questions on the internet, they go on TikTok to find it, because it's visualizing. So I feel as long as a business wants to be successful today, I think having that sort of branding on social media is probably the way to go.
And so then I'll pick your brains on this. How do you manage, especially having a 9-to-5, how do you manage your phone blowing up on a post that you just did that morning when you're walking into court? Yeah,
it's tough. I've being completely honest, sometimes it does take a toll when I'm just like, oh, far out, like this is actually engaging sort of thing. And for me being like, oh, the way I can start using this, or kind of getting ideas out of the post or the reel that I've made. But what I've learned is now I'm starting to put the do not disturb on the phone. And I feel because my job is so responsibility based, and I can't really pull out my phone in court sort of thing. So It's not like I'd be on my desk and something would be blown up. But if I'm in court and I'm in front of a judge, I'm not going to pull it up and be like, oh my God, I just got 1,000 likes sort of thing. So it kind of helps me there, because otherwise around the courtrooms it says I don't know how much the fine is, but to even have the phone out, just...
That's interesting, because I think every business owner is going to be dealing with this to some degree. If they're posting on any social media platform, delivering services, when engagement is popping off, you want to engage timely. So like that's a really tough component.
If something's hot, then you kind of want to attack on it. But what I've learned, especially in the last year and a half, is to get help from others that are well known within the industry, because at the end of the day, it makes my job sort of easier. So at the moment, I'm working in partnership with this data analyst sort of strategy company, and they're trying to help me navigate in a way where I'm just creating content, and then they can assist me in ways of making my life easier to interact with my followers.
So how do you manage that component? If someone writes to Seb on Instagram, I can see like you were saying, from an integrity standpoint, you kind of feel like you're the one that needs to respond. So how do you manage that now? Are they going to respond on your behalf? And how do you sort of come to terms with that?
It's more so now trying to block out time where I'm able to actually have these discussions with individuals. So I think a lot of people, a lot of my followers, and they just want to talk to me. So they just want to ask some sort of advice. So have a 5-minute chat, because 5 minutes is nothing. Instead of me having to constantly reply to a DM and like you going backwards and forwards, it's better to just pick up the phone and just be like, hey, like, what's up? Like, what do you need? And I think in the sort of long term, when I've got this sort of community, then I'll be able to just speak to 500 to 1,000 people.
And what would you say a key risk in your business is in today's world?
That's a good question. Just being able to navigate in a way of dealing with a lot of individuals, not just Australia as well. And especially with when you're providing a product, if it does go like sort of the wrong way, what can you do? Because at the end of the day, it's a digital platform. You're not going to be able to try fix something when someone else is, I don't know, in America or in the UK. So it's not like when you're dealing with a client, in my example, that you're at arm's length. You know where they are, sort of thing.
And that just kind of makes me think, with content being so evergreen, you must wake up in the morning and go, shit, I need to engage right away, right? That can be pretty challenging, I presume.
Yeah, well, I've at the start it was all over the show, but the more and more I've learned is being able to sit down and kind of it's the same way that I do with training, that I know when I'm going to work out.
Yeah.
So I block out time throughout the day and sit down and do those things with social media. For an example would be when I'm replying to people, it would basically be on the way to work on the bus, or if I want to create some sort of reel, it's on the way home from the bus. So I've already got that sort of my mind's basically, all right, I've got X amount of time right now to be able to do this. So, and I've got some sort of structure and some sort of strategy around it and what my pillars are, so it makes my life a lot easier when it comes to actually doing that job. And I tend to usually post anything between the times of 6:30 to 8:30 at night, because that's when my sort of free time is, and that's when I can take time and be able to write the captions or provide value to the people that are watching my sort of personal brand.
Are you scheduling posts out, or are you posting them live as it occurs?
I do schedule them out when I've got, I don't know, sometimes I kind of sit on them and try see whether I like it or not. So I do sometimes sit out and just hold fire. But then sometimes when I see something, I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome, I created this genius. Then I'll go and post it.
Nice. And so what's the future for?
The said before is, it's not just me, it's not just Seb Serrano, it's actually creating this whole umbrella of 9to5ers.
And do you, because we kind of mentioned online coaching, but like what else? Is anything else going to come of it? So
I forgot to touch on this. So another way that you can basically monetize your brand is basically brand collaboration. So at the moment I'm on a monthly retainer with Clothing. So it's a New Zealand clothing brand. Weeby, who's a really good mate of mine, basically started this clothing company about 10 years ago, and it's just on the up. And he created this off-branch sporting clothing around it, and we had a chat at the start of the year, and he said, mate, like, happy to have you on board, sort of thing. And it's quite good in a sense, because at the end of the day, my personal brand, I kind of want to keep it my own sort of personal brand, but there's so many influencers out there that are working with so many brands that they kind of diminish and lose that sort of personal branding. But the thing with me and Weeby is the fact we were mates before this sort of brand deal came about, so it feels very authentic to me. But at the same time, I've been very cautious in a sense where I'm not plastering other brands for quick cash, because then it diminishes my sort of personal brand. But that's another avenue that you can monetize within your social media brand.
And on the same token, you don't want to be the Tim-o-matic of social media that just, works with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Because then that can really diminish the value of your brand.
Yeah, 100%. And at the start, especially when someone's growing on social media, they just see quick cash and they're like, oh my God. And I remember I did it with, when I had, I think, 10,000 followers, and I did it with one fitness brand, and I just jumped on it because I was like, oh my God, this is the first sort of opportunity. But the more and more I realized through my own experience is the fact that just hold out, like create your own thing first before you start jumping on with these brands that probably aren't I basically just use them for your engagement, and they'll just flick you off in six sort of months.
Yeah, it's a very cold industry like that, right? Yeah. Things move pretty quickly. Seb, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. If people want to find you, they can obviously find you on Instagram. That's probably best.
Yeah, so it'd be Instagram at 9to5ver. So it's 9to5ver, and that's also on TikTok as well.
What are you finding is best, just before we close off, TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok, you can probably just post anything because the algorithm will pop up to anyone. So if I kind of want to trial something, then I just post it on TikTok, or like if I found something funny that I sort of created is more on TikTok. But on Instagram, I kind of, every sort of content that I put out, I want to give value to it. So it's not so much the fun element, but it's actually providing value and being able to show the viewer that they've taken something out of what I've put out on Instagram.
It's a good way of looking at it, to be honest, because we've probably always gone Instagram then TikTok. But definitely, if you want to test things on TikTok, it's likely going to work on Instagram.
Yeah, 100%. So and I think because it's TikTok, the way the algorithm works is that everything gets pushed into the community. But with Instagram, it's quite hard to try navigate that. So then with TikTok, you can test as to, does the world actually like this? And then 80 to 90% of the time, it's gonna, if it blows up on TikTok, it will probably blow up on Instagram.
Perfect. All right, mate. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Forward to seeing the brand continue to evolve and see what it becomes.
Appreciate it, Will. Thank you, man.
Associates, thank you for joining us today. Please hit the subscribe button if you've enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like to be part of the Socius community, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay in touch. Cheers.